Hello, I thought I'd make a video about my Nick Drake book because I don't think my work is very interesting to anybody really anymore. So I thought I'd talk about something more interesting, which is Nick Drake. As you know, one of my passions. And this is the marvellous book of photography that was produced by the late Keith Morris. I will talk you through it. Not all of it, because it's quite big. It's a huge book. It's the biggest book that I've ever had. And I got this as a very special treat because it was not cheap and it is limited edition, which we'll come to in a minute. Not the sort of thing I normally do, but I'm very passionate about Nick and I think you'll find that it was worth it. I'm not displaying this in the sense that I'm saying go and buy this because I think you'll have a job, which I will explain in a minute. But I'm just sharing it because it's beautiful and you might never see it in person. So here, this here is the slipcase. The book and the slipcase are all very heavy and unwieldy, so I'm doing it like this and telling you what it is rather than sort of showing you because it would just be too big. This is a very famous photograph. It was used in an advertisement for Island Records when Dave Sanderson, one of the Island Records people, was basically begging people to pay attention to Nick. This was the Pink Moon photo shoot there, so that was his third album, Pink Moon, Nick's third album. And by this time, Island and Joe Boyd and the rest of the people there, the team there, were kind of tearing their hair out thinking, what can we do to make this happen? How can we get more people interested? Because, you know, his last two albums had sold virtually nothing. He'd stopped gigging. He wasn't doing any interviews. He was virtually incommunicado base at this point. As you can see from this photograph, he was not in a particularly good way. And they actually placed an advert, I think, in Melody Maker, where they were basically saying, I think I might do a short video when I read it to you. Should have had that prepared, shouldn't I? But anyway, this video is about this book. So this is a photograph taken on Hampstead Heath for the Pink Moon sessions, which was the final complete studio album that Nick did. And he was not in the mood for having pictures taken. There's a lot you can say about this. I mean, it's beautiful. It suits me absolutely down to the ground because it's autumnal, it's misty, it's mysterious, it's got a sense of melancholy about it, but the most poignant thing of all is the fact that Nick is walking down this path away from Keith Morris, the photographer. I think he was going to come back up again and face him, but he's walking away, which is obviously just as meaningful as any other shot because it said it all, really. Not the greatest promotional shot because it does say it all about Nick's state. In fact, you can see that Gus, somebody's dog here, was actually approaching Nick in a friendly way, and Nick was completely oblivious to the fact. Other things you can see about this: Nick is very hunched and thin in this picture. He was never exactly a robust chap, but you can see that he is very skinny. He's very tall, well over 6 foot. His sleeves never came down to his wrists because he couldn't really find things that fitted him properly. All his trousers and his sleeves were too short, but he's wearing this kind of worn out short raincoat thing that looks all crumpled, and his trousers are all baggy around his long legs and his shoes look very worn down. The whole impression is somebody that's very down at heel. Focus please, focus on Nick, thank you. And yeah, it does not give the impression of somebody who's going to turn around and give you a beaming smile, does it, really? But it's beautiful. What a beautiful photograph. Keith Morris was wonderful. That's why I have this book. And this is the front cover of the book. Now, this is Nick when he was in a very different phase. First album, 5 Leaves Left. This was the photo session for it. And Nick did smile. Sometimes he had a broad smile, but he was not miserable git in these days. He had hope. He was young, he was hopeful. This was his first album, and he was not morose, and he was also quite stylish. And together, you can see the difference from how he ended up in a couple of years. He would never have gone out looking like that previously. He was very together. He had a certain look. He always wore the same clothes, but he always looked tidy. And as I'm sure you will agree, he was very enigmatic, but also very classically beautiful. And that's the thing that people harp on about him a lot, but that to me is irrelevant. The more important thing to me is what's going on behind his eyes, really. Anyway, this is the front cover. You will notice I am wearing gloves because not only am I a mucky pup, I don't want you to see my hideous hands. So let's open up. Front pages. This was Hampstead, obviously. One of the ponds at Hampstead, so he's included that as the sort of opening pages. Right, there is a protective sheet on this, which I will try and remove with gloves, which is not an easy job. Okay, actually no, the sheet has a point. I Saw Nick Drake, photographs by Keith Morris, introduction by Joe Boyd, limited to 500 individually numbered books, and mine was 475, so I shouldn't think there are very many left. And I think Claire Morris's daughter, perhaps, who has signed it for me there. So yes, this is a precious volume. That's why I'm sharing it with you, not as a promotional. I didn't get this given to me. I bought it because I love it and I wanted to share it. Anyway, I think I've established that point. So it's called I Saw Nick Drake. Here you go, look. His sleeves never fitted. Long, thin hands, long legs, trousers and jackets just did not fit him properly. I think this was taken for the second album, Bryter, Layter, which were all, I think these were all rejected. Perhaps it says, but no, it doesn't on this one. Right, so I'm just going to wing it. Okay. Unusual to see a colour photograph. There are no videos of Nick. There's one recording of him speaking drunk, which you can find on YouTube. Look for Nick Drake monologue and you can hear his voice, but there are no pictures of him. There is a video taken of a man walking away at a music festival in Yorkshire, and I think it might possibly be him, but his sister Gabrielle has denied that it is. But it's very strange because the man that's walking away has a jacket on that is too short for his arms and trousers that are too short for his legs and exactly the same hair. So the mystery is continuing. But anyway, we have very few pictures of Nick in colour. And unfortunately, he's not looking at us. I think Keith Morris's idea here was he was going, because Bryter, Layter, the second album, which I'm not so keen on, although it's still wonderful, was meant to be a more urban album. The first one, 5 Leaves Left, was a more pastoral album, which you can guess I would like more. So I think this is over by, was it Battersea? I'm not sure. Anyway, so it was meant to give a different mood, but we can't really see him, so let's progress. Right, this is going to be tricky with my gloves on. Okay, so we've got a bit of an introduction by Joe Boyd over there, which I'm not going to read, and that's a medley of different photographs, but let's just move on. Okay, now we're jumping about a bit here because we've gone back to the Pink Moon session, which is where this came from. And Keith Morris, the photographer, had a really hard time with Nick on this. Not that Nick was being difficult per se, but he was just so broken, down, abstracted, almost not present. I think he says it was like taking a picture of a ghost or something, or being present when he felt like he shouldn't even really be there because the pain Nick was going through. I mean, these are meant to be promotional pictures for an album, for your album. Right, look here. This is the raincoat, the short raincoat he was wearing in the other picture. It's ripped. It's got holes in it. His jumper, which I believe he slept in at this stage most of the time. He's got stains on his coat. He's got a pen just stuck in the pocket. This was him promoting his album, he just didn't want to do it at all. He wasn't capable of doing it. He was so disillusioned and so heartbroken, I think, at this point, by the failure of his music. Everyone told him he was wonderful, and yet nobody bought his music. So we're jumping about again here. It's a slightly younger pastoral version, but I can't get very close to that. Let's stick with the big ones. Okay. Hey! You see, he did laugh. He wasn't always dour and trying to be moody or whatever. I think people that knew, nobody was really close to him, except for perhaps his family. Nobody was really close to him. Nobody really said they knew him very well. But a lot of people said that he did, especially at the beginning, try and create a kind of mystique, a certain look, a certain way of. He was very aware of himself, put it that way. Not vain, but he was aware of how he wanted to come across, and don't think he would have wanted to be seen like this. This was not the image he was trying to portray. So this was a photo shoot for 5 Leaves Left, the first album, the most beautiful album. No, they're all beautiful. This is gorgeous. I'm going to have to get through this quite quickly. It's going to be 20 minutes long soon. This was an abandoned house, I think, in Wimbledon that Keith Morris found. And it's just beautiful. I love it because of the sense of autumn and decay, even though it's not autumn, but it has a kind of this mould up here. There's kind of a sense of... There's a mood there that appeals to me. Anyway... You can see this enigmatic kind of half-smiling thing that Nick was doing. He was, optimistic, very optimistic about his first album. Not an effusive man. He wasn't taken to raving about things, but, he was obviously thinking that things were going to go well. I'm going to have to go a bit quicker on time. Oh, gloves, you have stuck together the thing. No. Right. Yeah, so just quickly whizzing through this, the same photo shoot for 5 Leaves Left. There he is, smiling again, blowing away all the myths, but this is how he really wanted to be seen. That's the enigmatic, the mysterious fellow looking into the distance. That's what he wanted to portray. Got a slight smirk going on there again. If you see these pictures actually up close, they are so beautiful. And what I love also about them is they capture the time, a time which is, to me, very attractive. But that's the kind of look that he wanted, and I think this slightly decaying room, there's a wistfulness about it that sums up the whole album that it was meant to be promoting. There's a series here. I'll just whiz down them quickly. You can see obviously how photogenic the man was, but this is how he wanted to be seen, I think. Always looking off into the distance, never really engaged, but sort of deep in thought. This one looks slightly uncomfortable and, I don't know, or maybe that's what he was trying to portray again. Very difficult to know with Nick. Nobody knows, nobody knew him. His end of, his Dennis Silk, his housemaster at Marlborough College, said that, I think it was him, might have been a previous headmaster, said that everybody liked him, but nobody really knew him at all. And I think that's really what he wanted to cultivate. All the way through going to Cambridge, through moving to London. Nobody really knew him. I think he was trying to do something there, which is quite obvious. I think he was trying to look a bit pin-uppy here, which he managed magnificently well, but that just really wasn't him. He was very, very shy. He wasn't at this stage withdrawn at all, but just very shy. Reticent. Now this is from the 5 Leaves Left photo shoot. I'm going to have to go a bit quicker. I'm really sorry. Where he had him standing against a wall with people moving past, which is obviously symbolic in a lot of ways. Nick the observer while life goes by. I could focus on all of these for ages. But these are great because they're so of their time. The people's fashions, the way the women look about 20 years older than they actually are. The seriousness, the kind of slightly almost post-war feel to it, even though this is the late 60s. Anyway, let's move on again. I wish I could do this a bit quicker with my gloves. So these are the running man. Sorry, the running man. There is a running man in here. We'll come to him in a minute, but these are the shots with Nick just being the passive observer. I absolutely love this one. I think we can see that closer up in another one. Anyway, I'm just going to whiz through these because there are better ones, I think. Just loads of shots which Keith Morris fired off of Nick just standing against a wall while people, I think leaving a factory, going home, were just whizzing by him, completely oblivious to him. And Nick was obviously enjoying this at some point, but in most of the pictures he kept quite a detached observer face. I'm going to have to make another video. This is going to run out in a minute. Yeah, sorry, there's the running man. Nick just standing, observing. There's the laughing woman. Nick observing. She's grinning at the camera. Here's the one I love. I'm going to skip one out, I think. There are loads of great ones here, but this is one I love. So if you get right back here, you've got a mum hurrying along with a bundle of whatever it is. But Nick is actually making eye contact with this little girl who is holding a feather. There's something just really beautiful about that. And Keith Morris didn't set any of these up, it just happened. He was just a brilliant photographer and caught the moment. So yeah, there's something really lovely about that. And again, these brick walls, everything looks slightly run down. I think I'm going to have to do part 2 in a second. I think I'll stop in a short while and do part 2. I wasn't expecting this to be so long. Nick as he wanted to be seen. Mr. Moody. Not Mr. Moody, but Mr. Enigmatic. Mr. Thinking Deep Thoughts. Mr. Thinking Very Deep Thoughts. I think we'll stop at this session actually. There's a whole table full. A whole table full. This is Keith Morris's flat, I think, where he just got him to sit at the table and saw what happened. And he usually just, well, you can see me in that. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to do a part 2. Sorry. Bye.